Acts 27. And when it was decided that we should sail to Italy, they delivered Paul and some other prisoners to one named Julius, a centurion of the Augustan regiment. And when it was determined that we should sail into Italy, they delivered Paul and certain other prisoners unto one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus' band. So, entering a ship of Adramyttium, we put to sea, meaning to sail along the coasts of Asia. Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Thessalonica, was with us. And entering into a ship of Adramyttium, we launched, meaning to sail by the coasts of Asia, one Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Thessalonica, being with us. And the next day we landed at Sidon. And Julius treated Paul kindly and gave him liberty to go to his friends and receive care. And the next day we touched at Sidon. And Julius courteously entreated Paul, and gave him liberty to go unto his friends to refresh himself. When we had put to sea from there, we sailed under the shelter of Cyprus, because the winds were contrary. And when we had launched from thence, we sailed under Cyprus, because the winds were contrary. And when we had sailed over the sea which is off Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia. And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia. There the centurion found an Alexandrian ship sailing to Italy, and he put us on board. And there the centurion found a ship of Alexandria sailing into Italy, and he put us therein. When we had sailed slowly many days, and arrived with difficulty off Cnidus, the wind not permitting us to proceed, we sailed under the shelter of Crete off Samone. And when we had sailed slowly many days, and scarce were come over against Cnidus, the wind not suffering us, we sailed under Crete, over against Samone. Passing it with difficulty, we came to a place called Fair Havens, near the city of Lasea. And, hardly passing it, came unto a place which is called the Fair Havens, nigh whereunto was the city of Lasea. Now when much time had been spent, and sailing was now dangerous because the fast was already over, Paul advised them. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the fast was now already past, Paul admonished them, saying, Men, I perceive that this voyage will end with disaster and much loss, not only of the cargo and ship, but also our lives. And said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading and ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless the centurion was more persuaded by the helmsman and the owner of the ship than by the things spoken by Paul. Nevertheless the centurion believed the master and the owner of the ship, more than those things which were spoken by Paul. And because the harbor was not suitable to winter in, the majority advised to set sail from there also, if by any means they could reach Phoenix, a harbor of Crete opening toward the southwest and northwest, and winter there. And because the haven was not commodious to winter in, the more part advised to depart thence also, if by any means they might attain to Phenice, and there to winter, which is an haven of Crete, and Lethe toward the southwest and northwest. When the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their desire, putting out to sea, they sailed close by Crete. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, loosing thence, they sailed close by Crete. But not long after, a tempestuous head wind arose, called Euroclydon. But not long after there arose against it a tempestuous wind, called Euroclydon. So when the ship was caught, and could not head into the wind, we let her drive. And when the ship was caught, and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under the shelter of an island called Clauda, we secured the skiff with difficulty. And running under a certain island which is called Clauda, we had much work to come by the boat. When they had taken it on board, they used cables to undergird the ship, and fearing lest they should run aground on the Syrtis sands, they struck sail and so were driven. Which when they had taken up, they used helps, undergirding the ship, and, fearing lest they should fall into the quicksands, struck sail, and so were driven. And because we were exceedingly tempest-tossed, the next day they lightened the ship. And we being exceedingly tossed with a tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. On the third day we threw the ship's tackle overboard with our own hands. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. Now when neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, and no small tempest beat on us, all hope that we would be saved was finally given up. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. But after long abstinence from food, then Paul stood in the midst of them and said, Men, you should have listened to me, and not have sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss. But after long abstinence Paul stood forth in the midst of them, and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am, and whom I serve. Saying, Do not be afraid, Paul, you must be brought before Caesar, and indeed God has granted you all those who sail with you. Saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and, lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. Therefore take heart, men, for I believe God that it will be just as it was told me. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as it was told me. However, we must run aground on a certain island. Howbeit we must be cast upon a certain island. Now when the 14th night had come, as we were driven up and down in the Adriatic Sea, about midnight the sailors sensed that they were drawing near some land. But when the 14th night was come, as we were driven up and down in Adria, about midnight the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some country. And they took soundings and found it to be 20 fathoms, and when they had gone a little farther, they took soundings again and found it to be 15 fathoms. And sounded, and found it 20 fathoms, and when they had gone a little further, they sounded again, and found it 15 fathoms. Then, fearing lest we should run aground on the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern, and prayed for day to come. Then fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and wished for the day. And as the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship, when they had let down the skiff into the sea, under pretense of putting out anchors from the prow. And as the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea, under color as though they would have cast anchors out of the foreship. Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved. Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, Except these abide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. Then the soldiers cut away the ropes of the skiff and let it fall off. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat, and let her fall off. And as day was about to dawn, Paul implored them all to take food, saying, Today is the 14th day you have waited and continued without food, and eaten nothing. And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, This day is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. Therefore I urge you to take nourishment, for this is for your survival, since not a hair will fall from the head of any of you. Wherefore I pray you to take some meat, for this is for your health, for there shall not an hair fall from the head of any of you. And when he had said these things, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all, and when he had broken it he began to eat. And when he had thus spoken, he took bread, and gave thanks to God in presence of them all, and when he had broken it, he began to eat. Then they were all encouraged, and also took food themselves. Then were they all of good cheer, and they also took some meat. And in all we were 276 persons on the ship. And we were in all in the ship 216 souls. So when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and threw out the wheat into the sea. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship, and cast out the wheat into the sea. When it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they observed a bay with a beach, onto which they planned to run the ship if possible. And when it was day, they knew not the land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore, into the which they were minded, if it were possible, to thrust in the ship. And they let go the anchors and left them in the sea, meanwhile loosing the rudder ropes, and they hoisted the mainsail to the wind and made for shore. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosed the rudder bands, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made toward shore. But striking a place where 2 seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the prow stuck fast and remained immovable, but the stern was being broken up by the violence of the waves. And falling into a place where 2 seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart stuck fast, and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim away and escape. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out, and escape. But the centurion, wanting to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that those who could swim should jump overboard first and get to land. But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea, and get to land. And the rest, some on boards and some on parts of the ship. And so it was that they all escaped safely to land. And the rest, some on boards, and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass, that they escaped all safe to land. Job 39. Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Knowest thou the time when the wild goats of the rock bring forth? Or canst thou mark when the hinds do calve? Can you number the months that they fulfill? Or do you know the time when they bear young? Canst thou number the months that they fulfill? Or knowest thou the time when they bring forth? They bow down, they bring forth their young, they deliver their offspring. They bow themselves, they bring forth their young ones, they cast out their sorrows. Their young ones are healthy, they grow strong with grain, they depart and do not return to them. Their young ones are in good liking, they grow up with corn, they go forth, and return not unto them. Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosed the bonds of the onager? Who hath sent out the wild ass free? Or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass? Whose home I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling? Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwellings? He scorns the tumult of the city, he does not heed the shouts of the driver. He scorneth the multitude of the city, neither regardeth he the crying of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searcheth after every green thing. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed by your manger? Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? Or will he plow the valleys behind you? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Will you trust him because his strength is great? Or will you leave your labor to him? Wilt thou trust him, because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Will you trust him to bring home your grain, and gather it to your threshing floor? Wilt thou believe him, that he will bring home thy seed, and gather it into thy barn? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like the kindly storks? Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks? Or wings and feathers unto the ostrich? For she leaves her eggs on the ground, and warms them in the dust. Which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them, or that a wild beast may break them. And forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly, as though they were not hers, her labor is in vain, without concern. She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers, her labor is in vain without fear. Because God deprived her of wisdom, and did not endow her with understanding. Because God hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its rider. What time she lifteth up herself on high, she scorneth the horse and his rider. Have you given the horse strength? Have you clothed his neck with thunder? Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Can you frighten him like a locust? His majestic snorting strikes terror. Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. He paws in the valley, and rejoices in his strength, he gallops into the clash of arms. He paweth in the valley, and rejoiceth in his strength, he goeth on to meet the armed men. He mocks at fear, and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted, neither turneth he back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and javelin. The quiver rattleth against him, the glittering spear and the shield. He devours the distance with fierceness and rage, nor does he come to a halt because the trumpet has sounded. He swalloweth the ground with fierceness and rage, neither believeth he that it is the sound of the trumpet. At the blast of the trumpet he says, Aha! He smells the battle from afar, the thunder of captains and shouting. He saith among the trumpets, Ha, ha, and he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains, and the shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom, and spread its wings toward the south? Doth the hawk fly by thy wisdom, and stretch her wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command, and make its nest on high? Doth the eagle mount up at thy command, and make her nest on high? On the rock it dwells and resides, on the crag of the rock and the stronghold. She dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock, and the strong place. From there it spies out the prey, its eyes observe from afar. From thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold afar off. Its young ones suck up blood, and where the slain are, there it is. Her young ones also suck up blood, and where the slain are, there is she. Job 40. Moreover the Lord answered Job, and said. Moreover the Lord answered Job, and said. Shall the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He who rebukes God, let him answer it. Shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth God, let him answer it. Then Job answered the Lord and said. Then Job answered the Lord, and said. Behold, I am vile, what shall I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth. Behold, I am vile, what shall I answer thee? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer, yes, twice, but I will proceed no further. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer, yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, and said. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind, and said. Now prepare yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Gird up thy loins now like a man, I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Would you indeed annul my judgment? Would you condemn me that you may be justified? Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, that thou mayest be righteous? Have you an arm like God? Or can you thunder with a voice like his? Hast thou an arm like God? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? Then adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. Disperse the rage of your wrath, look on everyone who is proud, and humble him. Cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and behold every one that is proud, and abase him. Look on everyone who is proud, and bring him low, tread down the wicked in their place. Look on every one that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in hidden darkness. Hide them in the dust together, and bind their faces in secret. Then I will also confess to you that your own right hand can save you. Then will I also confess unto thee that thine own right hand can save thee. Look now at the behemoth, which I made along with you, he eats grass like an ox. Behold now behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. See now, his strength is in his hips, and his power is in his stomach muscles. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. He moves his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. He moveth his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his stones are wrapped together. His bones are like beams of bronze, his ribs like bars of iron. His bones are as strong pieces of brass, his bones are like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God, only he who made him can bring near his sword. He is the chief of the ways of God, he that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts of the field play. He lies under the lotus trees, in a covert of reeds and marsh. He lieth under the shady trees, in the covert of the reed, and fens. The lotus trees cover him with their shade, the willows by the brook surround him. The shady trees cover him with their shadow, the willows of the brook compass him about. Indeed the river may rage, yet he is not disturbed, he is confident, though the Jordan gushes into his mouth. Behold, he drinketh up a river, and hasteth not, he trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. Though he takes it in his eyes, or one pierces his nose with a snare. He taketh it with his eyes, his nose pierceth through snares. Psalms 48. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in his holy mountain. A song and psalm for the sons of Korah. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful in elevation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. God is in her palaces, he is known as her refuge. God is known in her palaces for a refuge. For behold, the kings assembled, they passed by together. For, lo, the kings were assembled, they passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled, they were troubled, they hastened away. They saw it, and so they marveled, they were troubled, and hasted away. Fear took hold of them there, and pain, as of a woman in birth pangs. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain, as of a woman in travail. As when you break the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. As we have heard, so we have seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God, God will establish it forever. Selah. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God, God will establish it forever. Selah. We have thought, O God, on your loving kindness, in the midst of your temple. We have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. According to your name, O God, so is your praise to the ends of the earth, your right hand is full of righteousness. According to thy name, O God, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth, thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice, let the daughters of Judah be glad, because of your judgments. Let Mount Zion rejoice, let the daughters of Judah be glad, because of thy judgments. Walk about Zion, and go all around her. Count her towers. Walk about Zion, and go round about her, tell the towers thereof. Mark well her bulwarks, consider her palaces, that you may tell it to the generation following. Mark ye well her bulwarks, consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation following. For this is God, our God forever and ever, he will be our guide even to death. For this God is our God forever and ever, he will be our guide even unto death.